guys, welcome to today's Big Brother Canada updates and spoilers. Our house guest of the day is the Syracuse Orange. So the women's team for basketball made it to the Elite Eight. Congratulations. And it's actually halftime right now for the men's basketball team. I'm gonna have a heart attack. Okay, so if you guys want to be house guest of the day, check out our Patreon link in the info box below. It only takes $1 for that holla. Alright, so a quick recap of the epic fake double eviction last night. Kelsey was evicted first. Maddie won the HOH and nominated Jared and Raul. Hey. And then Nick won the veto. Levita was nominated. Well, he used it on Jared. Levita was nominated and evicted. Whoa. Alright, so as we all know, Levita and Kelsey are chilling out together for the next week in that private room, secret private room in the BB Can Grand. That is awkward and intense. So, yeah, that's our quick recap. So when the feeds came back, we find out that Tim won the HOH. This is exciting because we know from previous conversations that Tim is planning on changing things up for his HOH reign. So it's pretty exciting. But there were some shock waves throughout the house after the fake double eviction. First of all, Dallas and Joel were very upset about what Maddie did. Dallas was working closely with Levita. Joel was working with her, and he was very close to her on a personal level. That was like his, that was his peanut butter to his jelly, whatever. So Dallas is telling Joel, Maddie can't be trusted now. How are they ever supposed to work with her again? She's working with the other side. No. So Dallas also tells Joel, you're all I have now. That's a lot of pressure. What about Ramsey? I guess, he's like with Ramsey, but is he really with Ramsey? He's got, he's had that weirdness with him since like week 2. So anyway, on the other side of the house, now that Kelsey's gone, Jared's like, what do I do? So him and Cass make a final 2 deal. What? I think they're both from Winnipeg, so they're like, yeah, Winnipeg. All right. I think they're also planning on going to the final 3 with Tim because Tim supposedly would, back down and be like, no, you guys go ahead and leave. You win. I'll leave. Is Tim really going to do that? I mean, come on. So they would like to see Dallas and Ramsey go up on the block this week, but who knows? I mean, with this nominations process that Tim is thinking up, who knows what could happen, but we'll get to that. So Tim got his HOH room. He got lots of Australian treats, which everybody was loving. He got pictures of his dog Meatloaf, so cute. He got a picture of his Nan, who's 95 years old, God bless her. A picture of his 4 sisters. And guess what, guys? No have-nots for the week. Woo! I guess they're not going to have time to show it on the show, and that's why, because they're going to have the Levita Kelsey stuff on there. That's what I'm thinking anyway. So Nikki and Tim were alone up in the HOH room, and she is very excited about his win because she knows, she's good with him. So Tim's like, you can come up here whenever. You can sleep up here if you want. It's all good. And Tim also tells her things are going to be different this week. He's telling her about his plan of how nominations are going to work. And Nikki's like, well, what if they want to put me up? And he's just like, well, if that happens, it happens, but I'll help you campaign. So he's really sticking to this idea. I'm going to have more on that plan in a minute. So let's talk about Levita and Kelsey. Now, when we saw them at the end of the double eviction episode, moving into their new suite, it was so awkward. Oh my god. But after a while, things calmed down a little bit. They seemed to get a little more comfortable with each other. So they were talking about how things went down. Some of the alliances in the house, they feel like Mitch is in a good position right now. They think Joel is pretty good right now. They can agree on one thing for sure. They would both love to see Maddie get nominated. Because, she did play a huge role in getting rid of both of them this week. So then, after a while, they were even laughing together. It was so weird. They were, getting along. They were starting to make plans or talk about making plans for whoever gets back into the house. We don't know how that's going to happen yet, and neither do they. So it really could be either of them going back in. And then they turned in pretty early. I mean, what else are they going to do? So we'll come back to them. Don't worry. But back in the big house, a lot of the house guests were hanging out in the hot tub, talking about La Vida. There was a lot of talk about La Vida, and just like random stuff. There wasn't really much game talk going on because of how Tim wants to run things this week, which in a way is relaxing, but at the same time, it's kind of boring in a way. But then they were playing this game called Pervert in the hot tub. I guess, like, somebody has to touch people, and then you have to, like, figure out who it is. I don't know. Okay, so Dallas and Maddie, while this was all going down, were playing pool, and Dallas is not happy. I mean, he just got this friggin' gut punch with his own alliance going after each other, and he also feels like he's effed this week with Tim in power. He thinks he's going to be going up on the block with the whole boardroom situation. Maddie doesn't want to participate in that. She's like, no, it's stupid. I don't want to do it. Big surprise there. So then we get the conversation that we've been waiting for. Dallas is asking Maddie, like, what the hell were you thinking? I mean, really? So he's like, did you cut a deal with Jared? Like, how did this happen? What were you thinking? So Maddie's like, no, I didn't make any deals with Jared. Maybe you should have if you're going to do something that epically dumb. But anyway, she was like, I didn't have a lot of time to make my decision. I didn't have a lot of time to think. This is what I wanted to do. She had this feeling that La Vida was, like, talking to other people, and she didn't like it. And then she pulled the old, everyone was thinking it, and I just said it. So, like, you know, she thought everybody wanted La Vida out, so she was just gonna do it. I don't know about everyone, but I know some people definitely did. So Dallas was just like, okay. I mean, does he really have that much of a choice? His number of allies is really dwindling. So this morning, Tim discussed his plans again with Nikki. He was going through, well, he said that he's going to go through with his plan to have the House nominate this week. So he basically just wants to be a facilitator of the nominations. He wants to be Big Brother this week. He wants to avoid the curse of power. So profound. Also, he lets Nikki know the Power of Veto winner is going to have a lot of responsibility this week. Not only will they have the traditional power, of course, of being able to remove a nominee from the block, but Tim is also going to let the POV winner decide who the replacement nominee will be if they choose to use it. That's nuts. But he's not going to tell anybody else that yet. He's going to save that information for later. But he let Nikki in on that. Woo! Alright, so let's check in on Kelsey and La Vida. They have been watching the feeds without sound, and they are so disgusted by Maddie. Every time her face pops up, they start complaining, and Kelsey was getting really angry because Maddie was, like, trying to be all over Jared. That's not something that she wants to see. So Kelsey is feeling all discouraged. She was like, oh, I was so ready to go home, and just, like, being here and still being a part of this is really rough. So La Vida is telling her, like, girl, you need to get your head in the game. You need to get it together. They don't know who's going back in. So La Vida's trying to give her some game advice if she does go back in the house. She's like, Kelsey, if you go back in there, you're going to have to, you know, make an attempt to at least make it look like you're not working with Jared and Raul, because they're just going to go right after you guys again. True, but how will she do that? So then, from watching what was going on, they figured out that Tim's the HOH. And then they were like, well, who's he going to nominate? They are thinking maybe it could be Maddie and Ramsey. We'll see. They don't know about the plan yet. So Tim decides to call a house meeting to explain the nominations process to him. He's like, oh, it's time for a day at the office. He puts on a freaking button down, a tie, and a jacket. And apparently Cassandra's part of this too. She's all dressed up in her, like, business attire or whatever. So she's going to be his secretary for this. So I'll explain in a minute. But basically, this is what's going to happen. Each house guest will be called into the HOH room one at a time to meet with Tim. Cassandra is basically just, like, bringing people in. She's not in on the conversations. So each house guest gets 5 points to split between 2 nominees. Now, Tim is taking this directly from Big Brother Australia. I guess this is how they do it there. So you have to give at least 1 point to each nominee. So it could be 4 points for one, 1 point for another. It could be 3 for one, 2 for another. It's like that, but you have 5 points to use. So along with the points, you also have to give a reason for your nominations, and it has to be a non-strategic reason. So it could be like, this person makes me uncomfortable, this person's always picking their nose in front of me, like stuff like that, which is crazy. So after everybody talks to Tim, the 2 people with the most points will be the nominees. Okay, in addition to that, so like you get the 5 points. If you don't participate, your 5 points will be added to your tally. And if your reasons are not deemed acceptable, or if you're like not taking it seriously, according to Tim, you will get your own 5 points on your tally. Ah! Alright, so Dallas is going around telling everybody, give me 4 of your points. I am ready to fight in the power veto. Like, he knows he's going up on the block. So he's just like, give me your 4 points, give your other point to like some random person, whatever. So he's just not feeling this boardroom thing. But all the house guests go up for their meetings with Tim one-on-one, and it's Dallas's turn, and he's just like, I don't want to do this. This is stupid popularity contest. So he puts all his 5 points on himself. Alright, I'm not going to bore you guys with the, total breakdown of who gave what points to who and what their reasons were, but I will give you the totals. So, with 1 point, we have Joel. 4 points, Jared. 6 points, Maddie. And the 2 nominees are Ramsey with 9 points and Dallas with 30 points. Woo! Alright, so Tim is keeping this information top secret until it's time for the nomination ceremony. Alright, so Levita and Kelsey from the secret room, they figured out what Tim was doing. Well, Levita figured out what Tim was doing, even without the sound, and they thought it was pretty interesting. And then they talked some games. So Kelsey was like, if I go back in the house, maybe I should keep Maddie around because no one's going to want to vote for her to win in the end. Oh, snap. And then they were talking about keeping certain people safe. So Kelsey agreed to keep Joel safe if she goes back in, and Levita agreed to keep Jared safe if she goes back in. Alright. So, after everybody met with Tim, Ramsey was feeling a real emotion, and he was crying because Joel and Mitch both told him that they voted for him. They were honest. They were like, dude, I had to vote for you. And Ramsey's thinking like, whoa, I think Cass did too. He knows that he's in trouble this week, but I think more than that, he's just hurt, like, on a personal level, that all these people were voting for him. So Mitch is reassuring him, like, you might be going up on the block, but you're definitely not going home. And then Maddie and Nikki were also comforting him. And Ramsey's just like, yeah, it's great if I stay, but I don't want it to be because Dallas sucks more, you know? So Big Brother kind of lightened up the mood and gave the house guests a task called Big Brother Says. So the house guests were given all these tasks by Big Brother, and if they complete them all, they get a pizza party. So let's just dive right in. Alright, first task. 1 male and 1 female must switch all of their clothes on the spot, not including undies. So Maddie and Mitch completed that task. Next task, someone had to take a bite of ghost pepper. The unlucky person was Phil. Ow. It looked really rough. So then the next one was someone had to lick someone else's armpit. Phil volunteered to do that because he couldn't taste anything at the time anyway, and he licked Nick's armpit. Alright, the next one, somebody had to give somebody else a piggyback ride for the rest of this task, so Jared gave Nikki a piggyback ride. The next 2 were linked. Everybody had to circle up and say something nice about the person next to them. And then for the following task, you had to stay in that circle and give a complaint about the person next to you. Okay, next one, somebody had to do a body shot off of another house guest. Cass did a body shot off of Dallas. Oh! Okay. And last but not least, somebody had to give a lap dance. So Raul gave Joel a lap dance. All right. So Kelsey and Levita got to watch this part of the feeds with sound. Yay. Why don't you give them some freaking sound for the strategy talks? I guess that wouldn't be very fair, but they did get to watch that. And the house guests completed all of the tasks, which means that they won a pizza party. I think Kelsey and Levita also won a pizza party for 2. So nominations are tonight. I think it's pretty safe to say it's going to be Dallas and Ramsey. But I will have a definite for you tomorrow. And the Power Veto competition should be tomorrow. So it's going to be interesting. That's for sure. So let me know what you guys think of Tim's crazy HOH reign in the comments. And until tomorrow, much love.